Hello, my name is Bill Bross, and I'm a developer here at Vive Consulting. Today's video is going to be a comprehensive overview of the booth management system within event registration. We're going to look at setting up and configuring the booth module, as well as creating a grid and looking at how it looks from the registrant's point of view and looking at the public map as well. Alright, the first thing we're going to look at is how to enable the booth registration in your install. The very first thing you're going to want to do is go to the configuration here up at the top. Now, if you're using an older menu style, the link you're looking for is down near the bottom of the admin menu called MMS Configuration. All right, once we get to this page, we're going to go down a little bit, and it's under other configuration options. Here's where we get the module-specific ones, and we're going to want to go to Event Registration Configuration. Once here, we can click on any of these page titles to open up a menu here with more options. And so the one that we're going to look at is Booth Options here. The only one you need to have checked in order to run the booth option or to run the booth manager is to check this box right here, which is just enable booth registration for events. This will enable a checkbox within every event that you create that will allow you to set up a booth map. So this doesn't require you to set up booth maps, but this just gives you the option now once you create events. The next option down here is display attendee information on chosen booths. What this one does is there's a public map page and then also a page where registrants, when they're registering, they can see the booths and register for them. If we have this option turned on, once people have started choosing booths, their name and information and logo, if they upload it, will show up when other people are looking at it. So people will be able to see what booths they'll be next to and who's at what booth when they're looking at the map here. This is off by default just to help protect attendee information, but you can check this and turn it on. And then the last one down here is disable website header and footer on booth pages. Now what this one means is normally the MMS and everything that we have here runs within the container of your website. So you can see it doesn't like break outside of it. Everything is consistent down the side. The booth module and the booth map have to take the full width of the screen just in order for the way they work. Now with some websites, like this one is a good example, it doesn't cause any problem because this one is fairly horizontal. We don't have any borders on the side, so it works pretty well on this one. However, if you have an older style site, or if you've got like a vertical navigation menu, or borders on the side of your site, or anything else going on like that, the booth module may not look very good with your header and footer like wrapped around it. So what this option does here is it turns the header and footer off on those pages. So basically allowing you to still use the booth manager without having to, even though if your website is not as up to date as it needs to be or compatible with it. So if you have more questions about this one, feel free to ask us. We can take looks at individual ones and see what might be the best option for you. Okay, so once we have those enabled, all we have to do is say Save Configuration. And that's going to save our options and turn the booth manager on. So the next thing to do here is we're going to go back to the main menu here. And we're going to go into the event registration module so we can look at how we would turn on a booth manager for the event. So event registration right here, and we come to the main list of our events. To turn it on for any event, all you have to do is click Change. And this is the same page that comes up when you create a new one, so it's the same way with both ones. And we now have a new option here for Enable Booth Registration for Event. If we check this right here, it turns the booth manager on, and we can go ahead and, it turns the booth grid on for the event, and we can go ahead and start creating the grid outside of this. We also get another option down here below for enable booth registration in admin mode only. What this one means is if this is checked, when normal people are going through the registration, they won't be able to register for the booths themselves. Only admins, when they're manually entering people or editing a registration, will be able to select booths. So you can use this if you want to create a booth map, but you don't want to make people register directly for it, or if you're in the middle of an event and still working on it and you don't want people to register for the booths quite yet. So any of that will sort of turn it on and off within the event while still allowing you to create the map. Okay, and so if we were to save this, it would create the booth option for us, and we would go outside of that. So that's all you need to change here. Anytime we turn that on and we come back out to this main menu, and we've turned on the booth manager, we get a new link right here at the top for booths. And if we click this, this will take us to what the booth manager looks like. And I've already used this one, so let me just blank it out real quick. We're going to delete the current background image, and we'll come back again over this. And I'm going to delete this booth also. Okay, and let me just change the grid dimensions back to normal default. And then these also to 0. Okay, so what I've just done here is I've basically taken this grid back out to the basic, very default setting. So as soon as you click on creating a booth for an event, it's going to generate this type of grid for you with these options. So it's going to have this many rows, this many columns. All these options are going to be set up here just to whatever their defaults are. So we're going to look at these one at a time and just go through them and see what all these different options do and how to construct a booth map from scratch here. First thing you'll notice up here is we've got a public viewing link. This right here is a link that you can send out that will basically be this map here that you create. I should also mention too that we see the grid lines on this version here, but when the people are looking at the map either just to view it as the public or to actually register, they won't see the grid lines there. This is just for you to help you put everything together. But anyway, so this is the link up here that you'll send out to people so that they can take a look at the map. So, if you want to send people who are going to the conference a map of what the conference floor is going to look like and who's going to be at what booth, this is what they can use. And you don't have to log in or anything to do that, to view this link. Okay, and then going down here, we're going to go through these options one at a time. This one right here at the top left, this is how you create brand new booths. So any new booths that you create are going to start right here. We get a few options to start, and then you get a whole lot more once the booth is actually created. This is just a safe space and make it a little easier as you're creating. So first two things we can set are the width and height, and these are both in blocks. So when it says 2 by 2, that means it's going to be 2 blocks wide and 2 blocks tall, meaning that we'll get a square of 4 here, basically. And we can change this however we want, so we could say instead we want a 4 by 4 booth, and we would go 4 blocks across and then 4 blocks down to create that. The color here, we can just click on here and we get a nice little color picker so we can pick whatever we want. And then all we have to do after that is say create new booth. All new booths are going to show up over here at the right in this new booths box right here. So everything's going to show up right here as you create it, and then you can click it and drag it and drop it as you need to. So all I have to do, like I said, click it and drag it, and you're holding the mouse down as you do this, and you drag it anywhere you want onto the map, and it's going to snap along the grid lines for you. So we can drop it right there, and you'll see here that it's going to save our coordinates there. You can do this with as many as you want, so I can do another 2 by 2 here and create a new booth. And we can drag this over here. And I can even do like an 8 by 1 and create it. And we'll drag this down over here. So that's how you create all of your new booths. They're very basic to start out with, like I said, but we get into a ton of different options here. For example, if we click the gear icon, which shows up on the top left of all of them, we can edit the booth information, and we get this dialog that comes up here. So from here, I should mention that all of the field options here have these eye icons next to them. These give you information about the field that they're next to, so you can get additional information for any of the options if you forget what they do. The booth name, this is going to show up when people hover over the booth when they're looking at it, so we can just call it anything that we want. So we'll just call this one a 4 by 4 booth. Booth price, if we add a price in here and somebody selects it, it's going to add that onto their invoice. Excuse me, and then they'll have to pay that in addition to whatever other registration fees they have. So you can charge different prices for individual booths. So let's give this one a price of $50. The booth number right here, this can be an alphanumeric thing, or even you can just put in like a small amount of text if you want to. It will show up as people hover over it, and the booth number will also be, or has an option to be displayed on the actual booth here. So as soon as we enter something, so let's say we'll do A31 again. If we click the display booth number option, we'll see right here, it's in black right now, but you can see it. The booth number will now show up in the bottom left here. So to make it a little easier to find, let's change it to white. And from here on out, we get a bunch of different options where we can change stuff about the number. So we can increase the font size. And I should mention here, too, if you're using Chrome or Firefox, you can click in these inputs and then just press the up and down arrows, and you'll be able to see on the right here in this preview how it looks. So you can just, you don't have to just keep guessing. You can eyeball it here and make it bigger and smaller and adjust it to however you want. We have the number X position right down here. This one changes it along the X-axis, and you can see it move left and right here as I move it back. And then we've got the number Y position, and this moves up and down, as you can see here. So we'll put it roughly in the middle. Display only. This is if you want to create a booth or basically an object or something on the map that is not that you don't want somebody to register for. So you could use this to create like a registration table, or use an icon for like the food courts or something like that, and people will be able to see it, hover over it, and see the description you add, which is right over here, but they won't be able to like select and add it to their registration. So that can just help you add additional things if you need to do that. And then delete booth, you saw me use this a little bit ago. There is a box over on the top right, which I'll show you in a moment, that you can drag and drop booths into and delete them. Some people have had problems with it, and it also, if the booth is too large, it won't be able to delete it. So you can click this box here to delete the booth if it's too large or it's not working for you. And then just click save and it will get rid of it. The booth color up here, we could set this originally when we made it, but we can easily change it here again with the same color picker. So if we wanted to change it to anything else, all we have to do is just move this around and pick what we want. Booth height, again, we set these initially, but we can move it up and down and see if we want to change it at all from within here as well. Triangle mode. What this one does, normally every booth that's created starts off as some kind of rectangle. Triangle mode, though, lets us switch them into triangles. And you'll notice something here as I switch it. It not only turns it into a triangle, but we lose the number. Now, what's actually happened is we haven't lost the number, but the way that it positions the number for the triangle versus the rectangle is different. So in order to see it better, we should change it back to another color. So now we can see that it ended up here. And then we can adjust this now to move it back to where we need to. So if that ever happens to you, once you've switched them, it's no problem. But if you're switching quickly back and forth from triangle to rectangle, you'll have that problem. So just make sure to change it back so you can see it, and then we're okay here. Booth rotation. What this one means is we can change the way that the angle of the booth is, so we can just move it back and forth. And we can angle it pretty much any way we want along the radius here. And then finally we have the booth description. We can add whatever description we want here, and when someone is registering or viewing the public map and they hover over the booth, they'll be able to see that description there for you. All right, so all you have to do is click Save here, and we've made all of our changes here. It looks exactly like it did in the preview. And if we need to change anything from there, all we have to do is click the booth information, and there we go. And so we can do the same thing for these other ones here. And actually, let me pull up a different one because we have a couple different options for rectangles that I didn't show you. So let's say we've already gone through all of these ones. We'll call this one a 2x2. We'll give it $15. We'll call it booth 12. We'll display it. We'll make the color white. Those are fine. Okay, so a couple other options we have here. We have border color. Triangles can't have borders just because of the way they're generated, but the rectangles can. So you can give, by default, they have a pixel or 1 pixel thickness of black border around them. So we can easily change that to something else if we wanted to. And we can also change the thickness of the border. So we can, make it huge like this, or we can even get rid of it completely if we change it to 0. So if you don't want any borders, you can always get rid of them. Another option we have down here for rectangles is border radius. What this essentially does is rounds the corners. So you can see if I turn this up a little bit here, we end up with a rounded square here. If I turn it up high enough, we get a circle. So if you ever want to make circle booths, that's how you can make this one here. Just turn the border radius way up. And you can see here after a certain point, it doesn't matter how far I turned it up, it will stay at that circle shape. And then the booth rotation too, it obviously won't do anything with the circle, but if we change this back to 0, we can rotate the square or the rectangles as well. So that is how you create booths. Pretty much every booth that you create is going to be created in that same way. You're going to create it up here. You're going to drag it to where you want on the grid, and then you're going to click this edit button. Whoops. Click this edit button here and change anything that you want about it. And then obviously once things are on here, you can easily just grab them and drag them around however you want. And a lot of times if you're rotating or you're changing from rectangle to triangle, your position will be a little off again until you reposition it back on the grid. Okay, so we've looked at creating booths now. Let's talk about background images, because this looks great, but it would look even better if there was some kind of floor plan or something beneath it that would give people an idea. So that's what we can do up here is we can upload the background image. So if you click this here, we get a new process here whereby we can add this thing. So we can either choose the file from our computer, or if we have it open already, we can just drag and drop it into here, which is what I'm going to do. And we say upload image. And we'll let my internet here upload it. And here we go. And I'm going to say right now, I already know that we're going to have problems with this one, but it's good because we can look at how this is a common thing that people might run into, so we can look at how we'll solve this problem here too. All right, so this is the crop page, and you can already see one problem we have, is that we can see the whole image. I uploaded a large image, which is great, but this is the minimum size of the crop box because this is the size of our map. So we can change that with by adjusting the grid dimensions, which I'll show you in a moment. But while we can drag this and make this bigger and capture a larger portion of the image, we can't go any smaller than that. So if you're having problems with the image being too small, your image needs to either be larger or your grid needs to be smaller. But the other problem we're having here is that, we can't even see the whole image on the same page, so we have to scroll back and forth to do this, which is not ideal if we're trying to crop an image. So the best solution for this one is within your browser, actually, and that's your zoom function. So if you're using Chrome or Internet Explorer or Firefox or anything, all of them have a zoom function. So in Chrome, it's right here. All you have to do is say minus, and you can zoom in and out on the page. It's really nice. You can also hold down Control and hit the plus and minus keys, and also do the same thing. We can zoom in and out like that. If you're zoomed out a whole bunch and you want to get back to normal and you can't remember what 100% was, you can hold down Control and press 0, and it will automatically put you back at 100%. So that's a great way just to set it back to default when you're done zooming in and out. So anyway, so what we're going to do here is we're going to zoom out a little bit, and we get a better view of our image as a whole, so we can drag the crop box around it. Now what you'll see here, though, is I can drag the bottom here to enlarge it, but because of the dimensions that I used, I can't capture the whole image, which is not what I want here. I want to be able to grab the whole thing. So we've got a couple options for what we can do here. You can either go back and adjust your original image, and you can add like some white space, or add, if you want to add a logo and some text above the picture too, you can do that so that it fits into this grid. But what you can also do is you can adjust the dimensions of the grid you're creating, and that's probably the ideal solution here. So I'm going to hold down Control and hit 0 to return myself to 100%. And I'm going to go back here, and we're going to adjust the grid, because this is very common. You'll run into this and see that it doesn't quite match what you've got. So what we do here is we change the grid dimensions. That's this red button right here. And we get this option here. So what the grid rows, grid columns, what these all refer to is these blocks right here. So these would be the rows. So we've got 25 rows of blocks here when we've got 45 columns running this way. And then the grid block height and the grid block width, this is the size in pixels of the blocks here. So if you wanted the individual blocks to be smaller, or you wanted them to be larger, you could adjust them here. And you could even make them weird, like rectangle shapes and whatever else you wanted to, but I really suggest sticking to a grid shape. And then finally, here's the grid background color. If you're uploading an image, it doesn't really matter if you use this or not, but if you are not uploading an image, you can just pick a whole different color here for the background instead of white if you want to. So our issue was that it wasn't wide enough, so we can either add some more columns, or we can actually probably get rid of some rows. We don't need this many rows. It looks kind of tall here. So let's reduce this by about 5, and we'll see where we get with that. And we save it here, and you'll see when we save it, it reloads the page. It needs to rebuild the grid, and we've lopped 5 rows off the bottom here. Those are no longer there, but we've kept our booths, so that's okay. I recommend changing your grid dimensions early and then sticking to them and building your map around that. What will happen if you keep switching back and forth is you'll have to constantly be readjusting the position and everything. So it's a good idea to get your grid size and the background image first, and then start placing your booths on that once you're happy with it. All right, so now that we've changed the size of the grid, let's try uploading our background image again and see where we get. So I'm going to go back and I'm going to upload my blank floor plan again. And we're going to upload the image. I should also mention as we do this that uploading images that are blank, that don't already have pictures of the booths on them, is probably ideal for this. If you are using ones that already have the booths on them, you're going to have a hard time trying to exactly match the sizing and positioning of the different blocks over the grid. So I really recommend using a blank one like this and just building your booths using the tools in here. Okay, so anyway, we're back to our picture here. What we want to do is we want to hold down Control and press the minus key, or we can go here and press the zoom again and zoom out so that we get our whole image here. And now you can see our crop box is different dimensions here. We can enlarge it, and there we go. So now we've got the whole picture here. This bottom part here, this is included in the image, this little stripy part. This is just to let you know you're getting close to the bottom. Okay, so we'll move that over a little bit, and there we go. I like the way that looks. So now, after that, we can hit Control-0 again to go back to 100% and do crop image. And this is going to crop the image and save us a new one for what we just did. So right here we've got it. And from this point we can either save it or we can start over. So for example, if it didn't crop exactly how I thought it would was going to, or if I wanted to just try again and see if I could get a better one, I can do that and start over. And I don't have to re-upload the image. I can just start recropping it. But since I like it and we're good with it, I'm going to hit save here. And you can see now that we go back to our grid, we've got the background image behind it. So we can actually start taking our booths and lining them up with the actual grid that we've created. Now, once you've uploaded your image, you have a couple other options here that become important. Your background size. So if I wanted to enlarge this or make the grid a little bit smaller, I could do this and move it up and down, just like that. You should probably never increase this by more than 5 or 6 degrees in either direction. If you find you're doing that, you'll probably want to re-upload your image or use a different one. If it's going beyond that, because it's not really making it larger, it's just kind of stretching it, so you'll lose quality if you try to enlarge it too much. All right, background Y position. This one lets us move it up and down across the background. So if we wanted to line it up a little bit better with how the lines actually were or something like that, we could do that. And then the X position is the same thing, but along the X-axis here, so we can move it left and right. So we'll put it just like this. Okay, so after that, we've pretty much got everything here. We've already looked at the grid dimensions. Oh, we can change the grid verbiage here, too. So as I said before, we've got 2 different public pages here. We've got the booth page during registration when they select what booths they want, and then we also have the public booth page where people can see just what the booth map looks like, and they don't have to register for anything or log in. Each page has default text on it for instructions and verbiage, but if you want to override that, you can put anything you want in these ones, and they'll replace that text for you. And then just to demonstrate it, here's that drag box where you can delete things. You can grab a booth and just drag it into there, and it will delete it for you and let you know. All right, so that's all you have to do to create the booths. Once this is all set up, then it will turn on an event registration, and people will be able to see the booths. I'm going to go here real quick to another one that I've created previously that has a lot more options on it, just so you can see kind of the full breadth of things you can do here. So this is one using the same grid and background, but you can see what I've done here. I've created a bunch of angle booths. We've got some circles over here. We've got some ones with big borders, and we put some over text on them. We've got a display one here, all sorts of stuff. And in this one, I've also had some people register for booths. So you can see that, all of them have the little gear icon, but some of them also have this little person icon. These ones, when you're looking at it from an admin side, you can see that this booth is taken, and if you click this, you'll get information about who took it, and you can also click for the more information link, and you'll get exactly what they picked in their registration. So you can see anything about this person really quickly if you want. We can do the same thing like with this one. So we've got another person here, and again, if we wanted to, we could click and see her information as well. All right, so let's also, now that we're here and we've taken a look at this one, let's take a look at what this public map looks like. And that is going to be this one right here. So this is the one where you can hand the link out to people, and this is exactly what they'll come and see. They'll see the map in this way. You'll notice some of them have red lines across them. Those indicate that the booth is reserved. And it will tell you, as you can see here, the booth name. It will tell you the booth number. And it will say who it's reserved by, because we turned on that option from before. And you see that I've got my logo in my organization there. Same thing with this one here. So this is how they'll be able to see who's registered and who's next to them and all that kind of stuff. And then if you come across a booth that is available, it lets you know that, hey, it's available. It gives you the information and the price and the description for it. So they'll be able to do that. And if I wanted to select this booth, I'm sorry, I can't select it yet. That's within event registration. I'll show you that in just a moment. If I wanted to select that booth, I'd have to start and click the begin registration button up here. We also have a display table down here. So if you made a display-only one, that's exactly what this would look like. So it's just going to come with information here, and you can put text on the top and whatever else you want. So to take a look at how this looks from an attendee's point of view, let's begin registration. And this just takes us to the normal event registration. Everything about this is going to be just like normal. I'm going to say register as a guest this time. And we're just going to put in some fake information here. Okay. We have an option turned on to include membership, so I'm just going to skip that at this time. We come to our normal page here where we select our package and then any custom fields that might be set up. And once we pass this page here, did I turn on an option here? I think I did. Let me go back here real quick. There we go. So I was going to show you how I can register for an event and see the booths. However, I had this option turned on, which is actually a good example of that, where it's in admin mode only, so it skipped it. So we're going to turn that off so you can actually see what I'm trying to show you here. And we'll go back to the list. Okay, so now when I continue here, I should go to the booth page. Okay, so as I'm registering here, this is how I would see it from an attendee point of view. I can still see it looks very similar to the public one, but I can still see who's taken what and see their logo and everything there. So all these ones are just going to show up like that. The display one is going to look like this, so you can see I can't select it or anything. And then available booths, all I have to do is click on it, and it's going to open up this dialog for me, which again gives me the same information about the booth, and then I can just say select booth to add it to my registration. And you'll see once I select it, it ends up in my selected booths up here. And if I clicked one in error, I can always click on the delete button and delete it. I also have an option here to add my logo. So I can click the add logo one and it opens this. I can either click choose file or I can drag it into here. So I'm just going to do that again. And I'm going to say upload. And as soon as this is uploaded here, you'll see that I get this option right here. And again, I can delete it if I want to. Or if I add another one, it will just overwrite this one here. They can't add multiple logos. So what we also have here, these are the instructions I had here. This was text that I put in to overwrite it. So the default instructions would normally be here, but since I put in my overwrite text, this is how it would look since I entered it. And I can also register for multiple booths if I want to. So if I wanted to add this one as well, I could say that and select it. And now I've got 2 booths on my registration. So all I have to do is click continue past here. And you'll see here I've ended up now at the end, the normal end page of registration. But you can also see that I've added a whole bunch of money to my registration from those booths because they were expensive. From here I can add another attendee to the registration, and I can also choose booths for them if I want to. Or I can just complete it. So we're just going to complete this one now, and we're going to say pay at event. And there we go. This is the normal page that ends at. So that's how it's going to look from an attendee point of view. They'll easily be able to see that. And you'll see in my confirmation here, I get the information about the booths that I chose. And I can always go back to that public page and take a look at it if I want to see where I'm at or show people or anything. Now going back from an admin point of view, I can go back here, back to the trade show and look at the booths. And you'll see here now that the one that I just chose shows up here. And I can see the booth was selected by, I entered just once for everything. I can click more information to see what else I chose. And I've got the logo here that I uploaded. So from an admin side, it's going to be really easy to go in and see these things and see who chose what and all that kind of stuff. And it will also show up on the public map that way as well. Okay, let's go back here real quick, and we're going to look at a couple more things here, but we're almost to the end. Once you've started setting one up, you can get a report about the booths, and that's just in the normal report section. And you'll see here, for anyone that I've got the booth is enabled on, I get the attendee booth report here down at the bottom. So clicking on that just gives me a very simple table of all the booths that I've created and who it's selected by or if it's available. So, you know, these first 3 right here, they're all available. This one's been selected. It's been selected by this one that I just created here. So this can give you a really easy report if you want to see what booths are available, what's not, anything like that. All right. I believe that's everything with the Booth Manager. I hope that was helpful, and if you have any questions, always please feel free to contact us at service@beathconsulting.com. Thank you very much, and have a great day.